Catholic Moments, episode 127, Kim and Jason Kotecki.
Catholic Moments is sponsored by CatholicMatch.com, the leading Catholic singles community. Being single can be a challenge. Catholic Match helps make it a little easier. To get started today, visit CatholicMatch.com/Lisa.
Finding joy in the journey and hope in the heaven yet to come.
Hello and welcome to Catholic Moments. And now, here's your host and my mom, Lisa Hendy.
Well, thanks, Eric, and welcome everyone to another episode of Catholic Moments, the show where we talk about all things faith, family, and fun from a Catholic perspective. And thank you right up front to our good friends at CatholicMatch.com, the leading online community for Catholic singles, which are our proud sponsors. We're so happy to be affiliated with them, and we want to refer you over to CatholicMatch.com/Lisa for information to share with your friends if you have single friends, or if you're single yourself and just looking for a special someone. Thank you so much for their sponsorship and for making this program possible. And the program actually today is packed full of lots of great stuff. We've got some feedback, some news, some information. We've got my conversation with Kim and Jason Kotecki of kimandjason.com. I'm telling you folks that the day that I had the conversation with them, I was having a bad case of what they refer to as adultitis. And I'm so happy to share that conversation with you and maybe bring a little bit of stress relief to your life this week. So thanks again to Kim and Jason, and that'll be coming up real soon. But before we hear from them and before we hear from our regular contributors, we've got a piece of voice feedback from two very famous radio personalities, and I'm so happy to play that for you right now. Here are our good friends, Greg and Jennifer Willits.
Hey, Lisa, this is Greg and Jennifer Willits from Rosary Army. How you doing, sweetie? The Catholic mom.
You know, let me just say that I feel so uber special because in my hands right now, I'm holding an advanced reading copy. It says in black and white, not for sale, of the Handbook for Catholic Moms, Nurturing Your Heart, Mind, Body, and Soul. I feel so special having my own copy, my own preview copy of your new book, and I know that everyone's so excited for when it comes out. And very excited because you're going to be with us in our studio here in just a couple of weeks, live on our own radio program when you're coming to Atlanta, and we can't wait to see you, Lisa.
But we actually need a little bit of your help. We are launched into a brand new giving campaign. We haven't done this in 2 years, but Rosary Army really needs some help. What we'd like to do is to invite your listeners to come over to rosaryarmy.com/2010, and that's where you're going to find all the details about this year's giving campaign for Rosary Army.
Believe it or not, it's already been a year since we stopped our Rosary Army podcast, and we certainly miss it. But despite the fact that we're not doing a regular podcast, we do have a lot of plans for the future that people are going to be excited about, but we're going to need the help of all of you Rosary Army soldiers out there to help us to accomplish these things. So again, you can go over to rosaryarmy.com/2010 to find out how we've spent your money over the past 2 years since the last time we asked for help, and also to find out what we have planned for the next year. Or you can go straight to rosaryarmy.com/donate to find ways of donating online.
And this year we're doing something a little different with the giving campaign, and that we'd like to give you some free gifts for your donations. Go over to rosaryarmy.com/2010 and get all the details.
Thanks, Lisa, for all that you do for the Catholic world, Catholic media, Catholic new media. You're like the uber Catholic mom. Well, I guess that's why you have your own book.
Oh my gosh, what a treat to hear from Greg and Jennifer. Don't you guys just love them so much? And we're so proud of them, the work that they're doing, not only with their fabulous Sirius XM radio show, The Catholics Next Door, but most especially with the Rosary Army Apostolate that they've been running for years now. And as they mentioned in this feedback that they sent through, it's that time of the year. It's time for their annual giving campaign. And actually, last year, they didn't even hold a giving campaign. So we're long overdue to support the tremendous apostolate of rosaryarmy.com. I can't tell you how many times a week I refer people over to the resources provided on rosaryarmy.com. The things that Greg and Jennifer offer for free through their website and through this tremendous apostolate. the audio rosary files that they have, those DVDs that they offer on how to actually physically make an all-twine knotted rosary. There's scriptural rosaries, the archives of the most fabulous podcast ever to be played on the airwaves of podcasting, the Rosary Army podcast. Just so much great stuff over there, and it stays alive through our support. So I hope that you'll join me. I've already made my pledge, my donation for this year to rosaryarmy.com. I hope you'll join me in doing that, because every little bit helps towards keeping their apostolate alive and running and spreading the love of the rosary. Our Lady appeared so many times asking you and I to pray the rosary and to share it with others. And it's through people like Greg and Jennifer that provide the forum for us to share our love of that prayer with other people, to teach it to others, to encourage them in their prayer of the rosary. I wonder how many rosaries around the world have been knotted by Rosary Army soldiers and shared with people. I know every time I get my hands on one, I have it for about 5 minutes, and then I find a way of giving it away to somebody else. So please join me in supporting Greg and Jennifer. rosaryarmy.com/2010. We'll have links in our show notes for you to go over and support them. But please, 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 if you'd like to make me happy today, you'll go and give any amount that you can. And if you can't, if you're finding yourselves during difficult financial times this year, please just pray with me for the success of this giving campaign for Greg and Jennifer, because they are absolute angels in the work they're doing. And Greg actually spilled the beans on a couple of things that I wanted to share with you, things that haven't been mentioned here on the podcast. The first is that, yes, you did hear him right. My book is getting a little closer to publication, and we had some great news this week from our good friend Chris Cash of the Catholic Company and Catholic Spotlight, the great podcast from the Catholic Company, that the book is actually available for pre-order now. So if you'd like to go over and pre-order it, I will have links on the show notes, and some press copies, some galley copies are starting to spread around the Catholic media sphere. And I'm hearing from some friends that have gotten their hands on that. And I have to tell you, there's so much to say about this book, and as it gets closer to the release date in February, I'll definitely say more. But I do want to tell you that there's a lot of my life in that book, a lot of my personal stories, but there are actually also great contributions from over 30 men and women. Some of your absolute favorites are in there with their words of wisdom too. People like Father Jay Finelli, the iPadre, Danielle Bean, a good friend of mine, Donna Marie Cooper O'Boyle, Heidi Hess Saxton, Father James Martin, official chaplain to the Colbert Report. All kinds of people have contributed to it, and so it's really exciting as the time grows closer. And don't worry, you'll be hearing about where you can order that. If you'd like to give a little sign of support for the book, a pre-order would definitely be welcome, and I'll have links on the show notes, or you can just head over to thecatholiccompany.com and do a little search for the Handbook for Catholic Moms, and that would be a terrific little IOU Christmas present to your favorite Catholic mom. So thanks for your support of that. Thanks to Greg for mentioning it. And also Greg mentioned to you that I'm going to be on their show in a few weeks. I'm actually going to be traveling to Atlanta in just a few weeks for the StarQuest Production Network Board Meetings Strategic Planning Meeting for the upcoming year. And as part of my visit there, I'm going to be lucky enough to sit in with Greg and Jennifer in their studio in Conyers, Georgia, and be on that show. So I'll be sure to give you the date for that. It's, the first Thursday in December, whenever that is. But I can't wait to see them, to meet Lily in person, and to watch those two professionals do the great job that they do. But let me sum it all up by saying that you need to head over to rosaryarmy.com/donate or /2010 and give your support for the great work that those guys are doing. And thank you, as always, Greg and Jennifer, for the gift of your friendship. And now let's hear from another friend of ours, everyone's favorite online deacon, Deacon Tom Fox, with this week's Deacon Moment.
Hello, dear friends of Catholic Moments. You would have had to have been sleeping at Mass to miss that the Catholic Church is preparing us for the end of our liturgical year. They do this by reminding us of end times. I preached at 2 of our 4 Masses this weekend in our Arizona parish. In part, I talked about those who worry about the end times. I told folks that in preparing my sermon, I had decided to go on the internet and do a Google search for the words end times. Would you believe that there were 249 million entries, replies to the search for these words? Seems like one heck of a lot of people are worried about figuring out the end times, about the rapture, who's going to be left behind. In my weekend homily, which you can find on the Deacon Tom online website, I said to the parishioners that they can avoid all the worry about the end times and the worry about the end of their lives if they would begin to live in the now of the Eucharist. Jesus gave us the Eucharist, his own body and blood, soul and divinity, to help us and keep us company until we meet with him in person, whenever that happens. This coming Sunday, the Church ends the entire year by presenting our Lord Jesus Christ, the King, in the form of thought-provoking images. I saw the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven. Beautiful words from Daniel and words from Revelation. In the Gospel, Jesus is asked, "Are you the King of the Jews?" And he replies, "It was for this I was born and came into the world." So are you one who worries about your own mortal ending? Are you one who reads all the end times books? Are you one who feels helpless when one of our separated brethren asks if you're going to be taken up in the rapture? If we live in the now of the Eucharist, we won't have to worry about any future events. I'm reminded of the two disciples who walked on the road to Emmaus, talking with Jesus, being in his wonderful presence. Yes, they were having the words of Scripture interpreted for them, but it wasn't until they had been fed the Eucharist that the whole picture unfolded. Only then would they say, "Were not our hearts on fire?" They could look back on the walk they did with Jesus. They could see the words of Scripture clearly taking on meaning, but it wasn't until they were fed with his sacred meal. So, lots of emphasis in the Church on the ends of things and the beginning of things, Advent coming soon. My message for this Deacon moment: live in the now of the Eucharist. This is Deacon Tom. Blessings.
Thanks a bunch, Deacon Tom, for that wonderful reflection. And if you'd like to hear more from Deacon Tom, of course, you can head over to Deacon Tom online and be sure to be subscribing to his terrific podcast, Catholic Vitamins. I need that supplement every week to keep myself strong and healthy spiritually, and I know you'll enjoy it as well. So that's CatholicVitamins.com. And next up, let's take a listen to my conversation with Kim and Jason Kotecki. Today on Catholic Moments, we welcome two very special guests, Kim and Jason Kotecki. Kim is a former kindergarten teacher and Jason a professional cartoonist, and they're currently battling a syndrome called Adultitis, and they're making it their mission in life to help people use strategies from childhood to create lives with less stress and more fun, which sounds like a terrific thing to me. They have a brand new book out called There's an Adult in My Soup, and a terrific website at kimandjason.com, and I want to welcome them today. Hey, Kim and Jason, how are you guys today?
Doing great, Lisa. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Lisa.
It's a real treat. I've followed your work for years, and I'm absolutely such a big fan. So why don't I start off by asking Jason to introduce both of you and just let us know a little bit more about yourselves and your family.
Sure. Kim and I have been married for about 9 years, going
There's
on
a little
10.
hesitation
Yeah.
there. I had to think about that.
Caught me there. So we've been actually dating for about 14, 15 years, and this whole mission sort of started when I was trying to woo her as we were dating. I would draw little pictures for her based on what we look like as kids, because she had this amazing childlike spirit, I think, that connected the two of us. And so we started there and have been together for about 15 years, and we recently welcomed a new addition into our family, our first little girl daughter, Lucy Ruth, and so she's almost 11 months old, so we've been pretty excited about that. And we just spend a lot of time helping people fight adultitis through our website and our books and our speaking programs. So it's been quite a wild ride, but I think we can each wake up every morning and we can't think of anything else we'd rather be doing. So,
hey, Kim, tell us, what is adultitis?
Oh, well, adultitis is a condition that I would say about 90 to 95% of all adults are battling, and unfortunately, oftentimes unknowingly. So basically what it is, it's when you lose your childlike spirit. You're feeling stressed, you're feeling dull, you're lacking enthusiasm. Sometimes you even forget to smile. You're not laughing as often as you should be. And unfortunately, it even kind of ties in with depression and stress-related illnesses that are just kind of often too prevalent. So it's a major epidemic.
Yes.
I
We
think
hear a
it's-
lot about the swine flu, but I'll tell you what, adultitis is, I think, more dangerous in the long run than anything else.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that I'm talking to you guys today because I have a bad case of it right now. I have a high school senior who's applying to college, and
wow.
I looked at my calendar this morning and went, thank goodness there are professionals who can help me today with the mood that I'm in. Oh, it's crazy. So tell us a little bit about your, you call it an intergenerational family, apostolate or ministry. Tell us what this looks like on a day-to-day basis. What is a day in the life of Kim and Jason look like?
Well, it actually changes quite a bit from day to day. We keep a blog that we do that kind of shares a lot of tips and ideas and stuff. And we're pretty busy in the fall, like right now in the spring, we speak to a lot of churches, a lot of other associations and things, but the intergenerational side sort of fits going into different parishes for some of them plug us into Generations of Faith programs, whole community catechesis sort of things. And we really have a program, which a lot of people are sort of skeptical when we say this, but that we can speak from ages from 5 to 105. And we do a pretty good job of keeping the attention throughout. And I think part of that is just because I have a lot of background as I'm going into schools doing cartooning workshops. Kim is a former kindergarten teacher. So we just put on a program that just kind of reminds people to slow down. We share kind of fun things that people can interject into their family life, their marriage, things like that, and just kind of remind people that God didn't call us to be running around like chickens with our heads cut off all the time, and that He called us to have this childlike faith. So we spent some time talking about what does that mean, what does that look like in the day-to-day, and use some cartooning and some visuals and some videos and things like that, and basically just try to have some fun and give people a chance to just slow down and think of some of the things that we forget when we're going like crazy. I think that's the thing. We try to remind people of some of the stuff they already know, but forget about when you get caught up in the day-to-day hustle and bustle of life.
Kim, has becoming a parent really changed kind of the way that you think about things, and has it impacted on how you guys go out and do your ministry these days?
Oh, definitely. And, it's kind of surprised me, honestly, Lisa, to find out to what degree, because before, our lives were busy before Lucy, just doing the speaking, traveling, and coordinating our lives amidst this business and trying to get it afloat and all of that. I thought we were busy before.
Yeah.
I didn't know what busy was, and we've really committed to between the two of us and Lucy's godmom, trying to figure out, taking care of her day to day amidst the three of us. So that adding a 24/7 job onto our, 60-hour-a-week job has been a little eye-opener, but such a blessing. And actually, I was just writing the other day about it and talking about how amidst the challenge of trying to find the balance comes amazing blessings, because I think God blesses you when your efforts and your heart is in the right place. So being open to Lucy and, having her as a part of our lives has just blessed us enormously. And it also brings a lot of relevance to our message, because when Jason shares in the programs about, all of the things that you're juggling, we can kind of relate a little bit more with the knowledge of being parents and the worries and the extra thought that goes into everything you do, because it's not just about you. It's about the little ones in your life as well. So
I think also, if I could add,
Sure.
It's funny looking back now how nervous we were about how our business would tank a little one. And I think realizing, something that we knew but we had to experience is that God God is a big fan of life. So he has blessed us in such a way. We were worried with all the traveling we did, and a lot of people told us, oh, that's really going to put a damper on things. Well, we kind of prayed about it, and we're like, why can't Lucy come with us? And so we were just in New Jersey last weekend, and that was her 30th airplane ride so far. And it just worked out really well. She's turned into a fun little traveler, and the smiles that she brings, the TSA employees, the people on the airplane, the church people who bring us in, it's like we have a little celebrity with us and a little joy machine, as she just kind of is a little smile ambassador. So it's really been unexpected of how much God has blessed us through this in ways we didn't even imagine.
It's really true, and just that openness to taking His perfect plan for our lives. And I'm sure if you guys had predicted 10 or 15 years ago what you might be doing when you grew up, who knew that you wouldn't actually grow up? Gosh.
Grown up, what?
So Jason, I want to know a little bit about the cartooning side of things, and I guess this is the geek in me that wants to know, when you cartoon, do you just basically sit down and draw, or are you doing it on a computerized program these days? And where does some of your material come from?
Well, I do a lot of it just on pencil and paper. I did the comic strip, Kim and Jason, for 7 years, and then I sort of retired the comic strip aspect of it because it was just so hard keeping up the daily aspect of it. But what I've done now is I'm working on a project that's kind of going to be a book, and it's full color, kind of more in the realm of like the Sunday weekend comics.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed doing those. So it's a little story about the monsters under the bed. And for that particular project, I decided to go completely old school and do it all hand painted. So I spent some time working on the story and the script, and have been now working on one page at a time, just hand painting it. And I'll bring it into the computer, scan it in, and do little touch-ups and things like that. But it's been a lot of fun because it takes some of the things I really enjoyed about the comic strip without the pressure of the daily deadline, and has allowed me to kind of filter things in a new direction. So it's been kind of neat.
And if I can interject about
Sure.
your question about his inspiration,
Mm-hmm.
Jason will admit this on a good day, but if you read his strips, you can often kind of see the different underlying issues that we're going through in our own lives because it's so subconscious. But, Jason in his programs talks a lot about fear and how that connects to childhood and our fears as adults. So this Monsters Under the Bed project is all stemmed from that. But it's really neat as his wife to be able to read his strips and go, hey, I think that connects to what we were just talking about a week ago.
You made me into a cartoon strip, literally. Well, Kim, tell us about the newer book, There's an Adult in My Soup. I know that this is not your first book, but what are readers going to find when they pick up that book?
Yeah, I'm really excited about it because this is going to sound really weird because I'm a co-author, but I'm not a big reader. And I'm the type of reader that picks up a book and reads a chapter and then sets it down, and the next day pick it up and read a different chapter, not necessarily in order. So this is that type of book. It's a series of essays that Jason and I put together. They're insights, ideas, and tips for cooking up the life of your dreams. So the other cool thing is that Jason interjected a lot of his own pictures and illustrations in it. So any book with pictures is always
that makes it easier.
Yeah. But it's just a real playful book full of tips and essays, insights about this concept of living life with less stress, more fun, trying to live life more abundantly.
How to deal with the busyness in your life, stuff like that.
Get the adult out of your soup.
I think I need to go straight to Amazon and order it, or to come right over to your website, which we need to mention, kimandjason.com. It's actually such a fabulous website. I can see your creativity really shining through. And one of my favorite parts of the website is, of course, your fantastic video show, the video podcast that you guys do. Tell our listeners a little bit more about Kim and Jason TV.
Yeah, well, we like to get out in front of and talk to people. So we've been doing things with the video to try to involve some of we're a very visual company. So we just kind of take some of the ideas that we have, some of the tips, and share them with people. We do live shows from time to time where it's pretty cool. We set up things with a website called Ustream.tv, I think it is, and it allows us to do a live show, and then people can access a chat room and talk to us during the show. So We've done one so far, and we're doing another one coming up here. But it's just another way, because people are different learners. Some people like to read, some people like to listen, some people like to watch. So we try to do our best to do a variety of things to kind of hit people where they're at. And video seems to work pretty good.
So you can actually go over to iTunes and subscribe to Kim and Jason's video podcast. What's the name of the show? How can they find it if they search on iTunes?
I believe if you search for Escape Adulthood Show,
okay.
Escape Adulthood with Kim and Jason, I think you'll be able to find it.
It's an interesting thing to me. We talk a lot in podcasting about using the new media in evangelization. And when you come to kimandjason.com, it's not immediately apparent that you're visiting a Catholic family on your website. I think when people come to know you and your ministry, that probably becomes more clear. But have you had people that you've come into contact with through the website or through your work that are of different faiths, and how do they receive the work that you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think I know we have. We've had a lot of different people, not only within Christian faiths, but atheists and other faiths and stuff like that. And I think one of our underlying thoughts that we base a lot of things on is what St. Francis said about preach the gospel always, and if necessary, use words. And I think what we focus on more than anything is living the gospel through our words and our actions. And allowing us to do that, it allows us to get in front of a group of, nurses. We speak to nurses, we speak to teachers, we speak to social workers that may or may not have a Catholic slant to it, but it allows us to kind of share this message with them in a very sort of general way. But then if they're interested in us, like you said, they can come to our website, and they'll eventually start to pick up through our books and through our blogs and stuff how we really feel about our faith and what we think about God. But I've noticed that people are so cynical about religion a lot of times and about God, and sometimes they have things that have happened in their past that really sours them on the idea of a loving God. And so we try to kind of ease them into it a little bit and maybe say, hey, get to know us, and maybe there's something behind what we're talking about, and then that kind of gets the guard down, I guess. I don't know if it sounds a little sneaky or not, but I think it tends to be fairly effective because people come in and they really like what they see, and then they're a little bit more open to some of the other stuff we have to say.
Well, your joy is infectious, and usually when you see people that are so joy-filled, you want to gravitate towards them and learn more about what it is that makes them that way. So keep up that great work. Kim, does it ever get a little bit nervous for you being so open to God's plan and not necessarily having sort of the traditional 9-to-5 types of jobs?
Yeah, I mean, I am actually of the type of personality that I like structure and order, and Jason's got more of the intuitive, creative aspects of his personality. So it's definitely been a daily act of faith. And we started all this in August of 2000, and I will definitely say that we've prayed a lot for obedience and purity of motive, and those are two things that I think have kept me on pace with this act of faith, because, a lot of people look at it like a business. We talk about it like a business because we have to, balance our budget and be able to stay afloat because it's just us. Neither one of us has a 40-hour regular, steady job. But it really is a ministry in our hearts, and I think that it's shaped who we are as people, as a couple, and now as a family. So it's quite a blessing.
He's accomplished some good things in our lives, but that's not to say that we haven't had some my God wife. So we've definitely had some difficult times where we wondered if we were like crazy.
Yeah. Well, you talk about being accessible to the people that you're going out and speaking to, so I'm sure some of that filters into the work that you guys are doing and makes what you say, even you got to practice what you preach, right? So absolutely. That's a great thing. Jason, as we round out these last few minutes of our time together, I want to know, I guess, the things that you guys talk about and this playful spirit that you have and everything. We're about to head into a time of the year where days are getting shorter, and there's a little bit more weather issues for some of the people in parts of the country and stuff. How can families combat this sort of spiritual downturn that happens sometimes at this time of the year, and really celebrate, what's coming up and how can they combat that dreaded adultitis in the next few months?
Yeah, well, actually, it's a good question. It's something that we've been talking about a lot lately, and I think that people are busy, and especially like you mentioned, this time of year, it seems to get a bigger crunch, and the days get shorter, and it seems like there's more stuff to do. And a lot of people say, I don't have enough time to do the stuff that I need to do. And so as I think about that, my question for those people, maybe people listening would feel that way, is what do you need to do? That's sort of the key word. And I think if you look at any of the stories in the Bible about Jesus, there was never an instance of him being rushed or busy. And I think we can all agree none of us had as important of a mission as Jesus did. So I think sometimes we pile stuff on our own plate, and people get a sense of, yeah, I know I need to get rid of something, but everything seems so good. My kids being involved in this, learning this instrument, or being involved in this sport, or me being involved with this charitable activity. It's all good. So it's hard to say, well, what can I get rid of? And one of my favorite quotes is by an author by the name of John Maxwell, who says, sometimes we have to say no to the good to say yes to the best. And I think that's one of the things that we need to do, is to clear our plates from some of the things that may be very good, but maybe we just have to say, you know what, not right now. I need to take some time and spend more time with my spouse, with my family, and free up some of that. And I think that's the key, is to figure out what's the best use of my time, because the busyness, as we've learned from the Martha and Mary story, is not something that Jesus is too keen about.
Awesome. Kim, any closing thoughts before we let you guys get back to playing and being with that little one? Any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with our listening audience?
Well, I think just even going forward towards the holidays and the Advent season is just challenging yourself to laugh more. I think that's one of the things that's, becoming more passionate in my own heart, is the contrast of laughter as kids. 4-year-olds are laughing about 400 times a day. The average grown-up is laughing about 15 times a day. And it's just a natural stress relief valve. It's an immune booster with all the H1N1 stuff going around. The best thing you can do is gather your friends and family together and laugh. So that would be my tip of the day.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kim and Dr. Jason, for my personal prescription for adultitis. I desperately needed it today, and I want to thank you guys for the good work that you're doing. Again, their book is called There's an Adult in My Soup, and you can visit them at kimandjason.com, and we'll definitely have links in our show notes. I know that they're on Facebook and iTunes and Ustream and all kinds of great places, so be sure to go over to kimandjason.com and befriend them and subscribe to them and really support the work that they're doing. It's greatly needed, and thank you to both of you for being with us today, and most importantly for being such a breath of fresh air.
Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate it.
Good luck with your ministry.
You too. God bless.
Well, it was so much fun to speak with Kim and Jason, and I hope you'll head over and visit them at kimandjason.com. And, if you have some type of an opportunity within your parish or an organization that you're in to bring in a speaker or speakers, I don't think you could do much better than bringing in Kim and Jason. They have just such a terrific sense of, not only sense of humor, but sense of the fun of our faith, the joy of our faith, the fun of family. They've got a great relationship with one another, and they've really put Christ at the center of their relationship and the center of their lives, and kind of taking this leap of faith that they have to do the work that they're doing. And I know that you're going to really enjoy them, Kim and Jason, and you can visit them at kimandjason.com. Check out the book, check out their video podcast that they do. Just great stuff going on over there at kimandjason.com. And next up, we're going to have a little bit of feedback. Let's see. I've got actually a few emails that I wanted to share with you that came up from some of the last couple of episodes that we had. First off, we've got some feedback that was left over on CatholicMom.com from our friend Mark. He says, Lisa, regarding Sarah's segment and your question about prayer. And I think he's talking about Sarah's actually really wonderful segment last week's podcast where she talked about sometimes struggling. He says, I struggle to remember to pray as much as I hate to admit it. Seems the cares of the world begin at the moment I open my eyes until I close them at night. To try to work on this fault, I have a laminated holy card of the Blessed Mother on my nightstand, so it is the first thing I see when I put on my glasses and the last before I take them off to sleep. Somehow her image reminds me to remember that I have a Father in heaven whose Son came for unworthy me, and that Mary leads me to God, even for that brief moment. Seems to make a difference when nothing else does. And again, that's from Mark. And Mark, that really makes a lot of sense to me. You and I have emailed the last few weeks about my nighttime wakings, and I'm already working on making this part of a sacramental part of my sleep routine, and I wanted to share it with others too, so that they might do that as well if they're struggling. And know, listeners and friends, that when I wake up in the middle of the night, you are some of the people I'm praying for. So thanks, Mark. Let's see. Laura B commented over on I think it was actually on skpn.com. She says, I'm on Facebook, and I think all parents need to friend their kids who are on Facebook to find out what is going on. Even if you aren't internet savvy, it's worth it to learn, and you might be able to stop something before it happens. This was in response to our conversation last week with Mary Kay Hole. Mary Kay is, of course, the founder of yoursphere.com, the organization that I told you about last week. Laura, it's interesting that you bring this up about Facebook and kids. Mary Kay's point was that Facebook is probably not appropriate for certain ages of kids, but I completely agree with you, Laura. My kids are on Facebook. They're teenagers, high schoolers, and I not only check on it, but I actually have both of their passwords and quite regularly look up, what they're doing over on Facebook. And not only do I do that, but they know that I do that. So that puts the kibosh. They actually have gotten to the point of deleting if other people are putting inappropriate things on their pages. They're cutting me off at the pass and deleting them before mom can get in there and see it. So thanks for mentioning that. So, we're probably going to be revisiting this Facebook issue quite regularly. And one last little bit of feedback is from my friend Brian, who sent me the following email. Dear Lisa, I'm sure that my 12-year-old daughter will be very grateful to you when we give her the green light for social networking, thanks to Mary Kay Hole and Your Sphere. Great podcast. Thank you also to Deacon Tom for his tribute to our veterans. And thank you, Brian. Great, as always, to hear from you. Now, I have one more little bit of feedback, and that's a request to you. I think I mentioned this to you last week, but I actually have a phone number for you this week. SQPN, the StarQuest Production Network, the host of this program and many of your other favorite Catholic podcast programming, is getting ready to have our annual giving campaign, and we're setting up a testimonial line for you to call as listeners to let us know what some of your favorite things are about the network, about SQPN.com. So here's the number you can call. It's 209-878-SQPN. And we'll again have that number in our show notes as we approach the season of Lent, which is when that will be kicking off. You're going to be hearing pleas from all your podcasters to please support the network, but we want to hear from you too. Why does SQPN make a difference in your life? So you can call that number 209-878-SQPN. And now, to let us know a little bit more about what is happening in the world of Catholic New Media, is my good friend and great friend of not only the network, but many of yours as well, Sean, and his adorable daughter, to give us a little bit of a Catholic roundup.
Hello, this is Sean.
And Sarah.
You're listening to the Catholic Roundup Digest. This week we have a special episode of video casts for kids.
Kids.
Over at CatholicMom.com, Lisa Hendy has a number of resources for kids that includes coloring pages and puzzles,
Word searches and a video.
I think she's calling it the Sunday Gospel Moment.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it!
Why do you love it?
Because it puts it in words that sound more like English.
So it puts it in words that kids can understand?
Yes?
And does it help you get more into the Sunday Gospel when we're at church?
Yes.
Now, another great kids video cast that has just started up that we've been enjoying a lot is...
Comments from the koala, doo-doo-doo.
It's all about a little koala from New Jersey.
I am a very, very, very small animal. That's an impression of the koala.
Through the magic of green screen technology, the koala from New Jersey goes all over the world, and he talks to little people about life and friendships and God.
And sometimes we have special guest puppets and other things, like he doesn't see the gigantic animal with horn coming from behind him.
I think it's some kind of a moose, but they'll have to check it out themselves. Comments from the Koala is a lovely puppet show put on by Father Jim Tucker. You can find it at koala.catholiccreativity.net.
And you know another great website? Grant's Advent Calendar!
Grant's Advent Calendar isn't specifically a Catholic video podcast, but it is a really fun way for kids and families to mark the days off that are coming as you go through Advent. Every day in December, Grant, who's also one of the masterminds behind the radio adventures of Dr. Floyd, opens another door on his Advent calendar. And every day it could be a little toy, it could be a little bit of money. There are sketches and skits.
And so do that good old snowman and snowball come along.
Check it out at grantsadventcalendar.com. Grant's Advent Calendar was also one of the inspirations for our Catholic New Media Advent Calendar. Every day in December, head on over to CatholicRoundup.com where you will find a surprise by a guest Catholic New Media celebrity. If you would like to produce one of the surprises for the Catholic Roundup Advent Calendar, send an email to catholicroundup@gmail.com. So those are 3 great video casts for kids. Thanks for listening to the Catholic Roundup Digest. You can find out more, as always, at
CatholicRoundup.com.
Well, thanks, Sean, and thanks, Sarah. It's always so great to see the way that new media is being used to reach out to children. And, you know, that video segment of mine actually does not have an official name yet. I promised you a contest to name that puppy, and just hasn't happened yet. My mom is here visiting. She's been here for about the last week, and I'm actually going to take a couple days this weekend and go down to Southern California with her, and we'll be back to a more regular work schedule next week. Between edits for the book, which were due on Tuesday, and her visit, it's been a little bit of a goofy week as far as my work schedule. So get back to a regular schedule next week and look for that, more information about that video podcast. And in the meantime, I'll link to the other shows that Sean mentioned in his roundup. And thanks, Sarah. You're adorable. And speaking of adorable people named Sarah, let's hear next up from our good friend, Sarah Reinhardt, with this week's Merry Moment.
Hello, my name's Elizabeth.
And my name's Sarah Reinhardt.
It's time for Merry Moment.
Trusting God doesn't always make sense. In fact, we are often asked to trust Him when it makes the least sense. Mary is a model for me of trust in God. At the wedding at Cana, when they ran out of wine, she could have just shrugged. What did it matter to her, after all? There was no need to get involved. Yet she did. She went to her son and asked, and then she trusted that he would listen. How do I approach Jesus with that level of love? In Mary's title, Mother of Divine Providence, I'm reminded that she's my mother too, and that divine providence is the best route for achievement. It's not the kind of achievement that will win me worldly renown, but it will give me peace. One image of the Mother of Divine Providence is shown with a sleeping toddler on her lap. He has that trusting look that small children so often have when they just pass out on their mother's laps. She's gazing down at him, holding one of his hands within both of hers. Her loving look must have been the first thing he saw when he awoke. It's no wonder, then, that when she asked for that small favor at Cana, he cooperated. He had grown up waking up to her loving gaze, hearing her soft voice, being reprimanded and taught by her. In a different image of Mary as Mother of Divine Providence, the infant Jesus is looking up at his mother. There's no drool on his chin, but I imagine there would have been soon, because he looks like he's just about to break into a big, toothless smile.
Mary's looking down at him, a hint of a smile on her face. His chubby fingers are gripping her first 2 fingers, and recognizing the hold she has on him, I have to wonder if what follows is a wiggle and a giggle. Though they both have halos, and we don't hear about them laughing, I think they must have laughed a lot. How could they not? Their joy in each other must have surfaced again and again. And it surfaces today when I find myself yet again asking for their help. My problems are often no big deal in the larger scheme of life, but maybe that's the point. Maybe it's not about the size of my request, but the habit of trust and hope. Maybe the lesson I need to learn from Mary, Mother of Divine Providence, is that no appeal is too small. Until next week, my friends, may the infant smile at you from his mother's lap as she invites you always closer to him.
Sarah, thank you so much for that great meditation. As always, we just love hearing from you. And, you know, Sarah's going to be joining me on this week's Faith and Family Livecast, the podcast from faithandfamilylive.com, excuse me. She'll be on this week's show. So if you want to hear more of Sarah, you can hear her over at faithandfamilylive.com on this week's episode. And also be sure to head over to her blog at snoringscholar.com, www.snoringscholar.com, where you can get more news and inspiration from the lovely Sarah Reinhard. And that's about all that we have time for in this week's show. I'm going to send you off with a great song. It's from a new friend, Sally Boulderson, who's a terrific musician. The name of this song is called Choose to Love. And as we round out the end of this liturgical calendar and end with the wonderful solemnity of Christ the King, he teaches us to choose to love in our life. And I hope you enjoy Sally's music and that you have a terrific week. I can't wait to be with you again next week. And until then, take care, be well. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Live today as though it were your last. Look all around, extend a helping hand. In every soul created from above, we find our God when we choose to love. We find our God when we choose to love. You see a little child hurting and alone, reach out your hand to wipe away the tear. Standing on a corner, no place to call home, stands a lonely man, hurting and alone. Live today as though it were your last. Look all around, extend a helping hand. In every soul created from above, we find our God when we choose to love. We find our God when we choose to love. She's torn and so confused, not knowing what to do. Teach her to respect herself and keep her body pure. For the person who is different, who just does not fit in, that someone else will notice that they could be their friend. Every moment is a gift sent from God above. Rejoice and make the most of it. Share the gift of love. Live today as though it were your last. Look all around, extend a helping hand. In every soul created from above, we find our God when we choose to love. We find our God when we choose to love. We find our God when we choose to love.
SQPN, leading the way in Catholic new media.